All right, y'all. I gotta say something real quick about all this shit that's going on in LA. Um, the protests being going on in LA. So uh, clearly, everyone's seen this. Isn't if you haven't seen, if you don't know, you know. But if you don't, uh, Donald Trump is sending the National Guard and the United States military to Los Angeles in an attempt to stop protests that are happening in the city. Now, the protests are in response to ICE raids, immigration raids, right? You have these ICE agents that are coming in and just abducting people off of the street and arresting them without any due process. It's been all over the news. And the people that are that I see in the news cycle that are mainly being targeted are Latin Americans, like I guess a few people who look like they're like Middle Eastern or something, but for the most part, I've only seen Latin Americans being attacked at this, or not attacked, but detained by ICE, and then a handful of cases of people who are actively trying to stop ICE being detained as well. Right now, I'll just say it like this, guys. This is a trap, like the biggest, most obvious trap. This actually is being played out again, right? Donald Trump will do whatever he wants to do to stoke controversy, fear, violence, animosity into people. The idea is to get protesters in front of armed forces. These armed forces are then going to try to, do their jobs, and protesters are going to try to stop them. Now, the ICE agent and do their jobs, air quote. These agents, these operatives that are out there, they are going to use the tools that they came out there with. Right? If these guys came out there with rubber bullets and tear gas and all these different sprays and flashbangs and all, they're using those things. They are going to be there to disperse the crowds. They're not there to make sure everything goes peacefully. They're there to shut the protests down. So when they start, shooting rubber bullets and throwing shit in the crowds and protest crowds, what a protest is going to naturally do? Defend themselves, right? What are the news crew going to do? The media that's out there, they're going to record everything that looks like it is an actionable sequence. Again, their job. They're going to go out there and they're going to record anything that's an action shot. Now, I'm a photographer, so I get it. Like, there's a lot of cool shots out there. Like, you see people, just, I'm line of flare, throwing off, stand on car with flags and all this bullshit, right? Like, people are just doing stuff, right? And these film crews are catching it and saying, oh, look, these are violent protests that are happening. Because we see action happening in the streets. We see ICE agents being attacked by protesters. They're recording all this stuff and they're putting it on the news cycle and being like, and what an average American is going to see are a bunch of Mexican Americans violently attacking the government or the military, right? Which is part of the plan. So Donald Trump wants protesters out there. He wants us out there in droves. And I say us, I mean anyone who is resistant against Donald Trump out there. And because he wants everyone to see this as an example, he's using us, protesters, us. I shouldn't say us because I'm not one of them, but I don't live in LA and I'm not protesting anything, which again is another problem I'll come back to in a minute. But the whole idea of what he's doing is just to get people to start their own violence so he can justify military occupation in Los Angeles. It's pretty fucking simple. It's not rocket science. So what's the solution then? What would you do? Not protest? That's not a dumb idea. I mean, it's not protesting, but not like, I don't know, fighting back during the all right, cool, gas pellets and all, like make it actually non-violent or something, right? Like if they're attacking you with gas and rubber bullets and all this stuff, don't do anything back. Just stand there and stand your ground, I guess, is an option. Not a smart option, but it's an option, right? I think probably better option that we haven't tried yet is just stop sending protesters to these protests. It sounds counterproductive, but hear me out. If you stop sending protesters out, that forces him, Trump, to stop sending military forces out. No military forces, no violence. You guys get to control the media. You guys, as in protesters, get to control the media from a place where you actually can control it, primarily online, like specifically online. And the organization point needs to happen, right? Like, with no organization and no leadership between these protests, there's not going to be a person to say we can or should do these things. So it's a Wild West situation. I was going to do whatever the hell they want to do, whatever they think is right, which is the problem. Because if everyone's individually acting in their own interest, which brings me to the point of black people, right? Like, oh, I don't, from all the images I've seen, I'm not talking about just mostly just online stuff from Fox, CBS, MSNBC. I've been looking at every outsource I can, not every, but a lot of them, right? And I don't see a whole lot of like black people out on these protests, guys. I just don't. So what does that mean? Does that mean black people don't care? Does that mean that they're like ignorant to the plight? Does that mean that they don't believe that they're in danger, that Donald Trump's going to come after them as soon as he's done with the Latin American community? No, none of that is factual, or none of that I don't think is what most black people think. I just think that they've come to the conclusion that I have. What does my presence out there do to help the narrative in the way I want to tell it? How does this help get my message across? And like, I want due process for these people who you say are criminals, who are just immigrants or here illegally, which I have no problem with. Like, most every Latin American I know is here illegally. What's the problem with that? There's no problem with it. What the hell? And for him, I mean, and again, obviously, it's just because Donald Trump is a racist, he's a fascist, and he's a piece of shit. That's it. But like, nothing that the protesters are going to do is going to impact the narrative to that degree. I get that it's frustrating to watch him do these things, but feeding into his hand, is that really how we plan to fix this? Think a little bit more and be better about it. I'm not saying protests are useless, but this is not the way.